Hi, I'm Chrissy Cameron. I'm a third year media production student.
I am Callie and I'm in my final year studying BSc Psychology with Counselling.
So to me, coming out basically means being free with yourself, letting yourself go in the sense that you are comfortable with who you are and you're ready to tell the world about how you identify and like who you are as a person.
Coming out to me, I think, is about being authentic with the people around you. There's coming out in terms of your sexuality, but then there's also coming out in terms of your gender. I have experience of both, and it's a very different experience. It's just about being authentic and kind of setting yourself free to live your life how you need to live it.
So for asexuality, there's a massive spectrum. So you've got like broadly, you've got like the broad asexual term that's represented in the black portion of the flag. You've got grey asexual, which is sort of in the middle of it, and that's like a 50-50 sort of situation where sometimes it happens where you have like a bit of a sexual attraction, but it's very rare. Then you've also got like demisexual, where you only feel sexual attraction when you've had like a close relationship with someone. So there's loads of different areas on the spectrum, and it's when you fully go into it, it's a lot. So you could be in the spectrum yourself, and you might not even know it. So we've got quite a few queer family members. So I kind of knew going into telling family that it was going to be relatively okay. Like, you know, with being something brand new, I didn't know how they'd react to, oh, I'm asexual. But I actually found out that someone in my family was asexual as well. So that was quite a weight lifted off.
I've sort of came out like a few times.
Yeah.
So the first time was coming out in terms of like sexuality, and at that point I was living as male. So I came out as like bisexual. In terms of coming out as gender, I think that's something that's more necessary because obviously that's about your expression and how you're perceived in the world. And if it's the right journey for you, then coming out in terms of your gender also might mean that you go down sort of medical procedures. And I think the gender thing was harder, much harder. Some people don't respond in the way that you might hope they would, but even in spite of any sort of roadblocks or obstacles, I think overall, generally speaking, it's been pretty good. I've been quite fortunate to be in an environment, for the most part, where people are sort of okay with it, even if they don't fully understand it. They're sort of like, you know, they're not going to be mean about it or anything. There's almost like a slight sort of grief process that you have because the person that you were, and like especially if you're not sort of like young, I was in my mid-20s when this all started. You've sort of like built up a life as this person, regardless of whether that was right for you or not, or whether it was fully authentic or whatever. You've still sort of built up a life as this person, and the way that you see yourself in the world and other people see you is as this person, and you're basically like completely like closing off that person in a sense. It's not like you're still the same person inside, but like you change, well, most people change their name and that sort of thing, and then you're sort of like completely embarking on this like new person. It's almost like you have to figure yourself out again while also kind of grieving this person that you'd lived as for however many years. You do sort of build an attachment with how you've built up your life up to that point and how people see you and just everything about what you've become at that point and all of the achievements that you've had and everything that you've done up to that point. It's sort of like coming to terms with like closing the door on that person.
The university have been really, really supportive. So as soon as I came out, I spoke with different areas of the university, and something that I wanted to do with asexuality being such a new term was, for one of my second year modules, I wanted to make a radio documentary about asexuality, and me module leaders were really, really into that idea. They really supported us, and they helped us make that a reality.
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure if I would have taken this step at this point in my life by now if I hadn't come to this university. Everyone, certainly in the psychology department, everyone is so individual and just accepting and curious and just really chill. Everyone's been like super accommodating, like immediately in terms of like pronouns that they'll use, or they would immediately like change the name that they refer to me as without me even saying anything. They'll just sort of pick up on it from like how I've signed off an email. Everyone just really pays attention to that sort of thing. For me, it's just been a really good place to be able to accept who I actually am and come to terms with it and be open about it.